Okay, can everybody see my screen first of all?
Yes, it looks great.
Yes? Okay, sweet. Okay. Hello everyone. My name is Adriano Roberto, and I'm a first-year PhD student from the Department of Physical and Environmental Sciences at UTSC, supervised by Marnie Isaac and Scott McIver. And today I'll be presenting the work I will conduct during my PhD, titled Resource Facilitation, Water Stress, and Food Productivity on Green Roofs. Okay. So green roofs are the most common type of green infrastructure, which is the use of vegetation and soils in combination with gray infrastructure to restore natural processes in cities. These urban features contribute to restoring and providing biodiversity and ecosystem services. Green infrastructure is added to densifying cities and provides access to green spaces, as urbanization has converted large portions of the surrounding landscape to impermeable gray area, much of which was once farmland. In Canada, the green infrastructure sector is growing and increasingly becoming central to urban policy, wherein the City of Toronto has a mandatory city bylaw requiring new buildings over 2,000 meters squared to have 20 to 60 green roof cover, 20 to 60% green roof cover, sorry. As city populations grow and infrastructure expands out into rural areas, we can utilize these mandatory green roofs to recover crop area lost by development and grow food in urban areas. So extensive green roofs are the most common and generally the inexpensive options. These are characterized by a sandy loam substrate with rocky aggregates, which is less than 15 centimeters deep. They normally have hardy, drought-tolerant vegetative cover that can withstand harsh sun and wind stress conditions and require little maintenance. The most common type of green roof vegetation is sedum. Sedum is a type of succulent plant, which means it can survive in harsh temperatures with little watering for long periods of time. They are low-growing plants with lateral root systems that can form into mats, making them great candidates for green roofs. Studies have shown sedum's ability to act as a companion or a nurse plant for target individuals, substituting for frequent watering through facilitation. So a nurse plant is a species that benefits other plants through various mechanisms. These mechanisms range from pollination visitation and herbivore protection to substrate and soil nutrient modification. In the case of sedum, we're focusing on the amelioration of abiotic stressors, such as the protection of heat and extreme weather. On green roofs, facilitation from nurse plants is extremely important. These habitats are often extremely hot, dry, and windy. And as stated by the stress gradient environment hypothesis, these stressors increase and likelihood of facilitation ultimately increases. Facilitation of plant growth can occur through both above and below ground processes. Sedum undergoes CAM photosynthesis, meaning it minimizes evapotranspiration during the day to conserve water. These plants fix CO2 in the absence of light or at nighttime for later use in photosynthesis. Research shows succulents displaying this type of photosynthesis has improved health conditions for non-succulent neighboring plants. And sedum suppression of evapotranspiration creates a mulching effect, resulting in cooler microclimates by decreasing soil temperature and increasing substrate water content. Below ground mycorrhizal networks have also been linked to facilitation. Studies have found mycorrhizal diversity and interactions between different plant groups increases plant growth and survival and can alleviate stressors. These networks allow the transfer of nutrients from nurse plants to target plants to facilitate growth. So some studies have been conducted using green roofs for food production. So a study by Whittinghill and colleagues looked at vegetable and herb production on green roofs in raised growing beds and in ground. They found that the marketable yield of tomato, bean, cucumber, and chive grown on these green roofs was comparable to those grown in ground, showing that with proper management, green roofs can be a productive crop growing space. And Ahmed and colleagues used sedum album as a watering management strategy to grow herbs on green roofs. They found that sedum significantly impacted performance parameters of culinary herbs by increasing plant cover, biomass, and vitality during early stages of development, suggesting that sedum can survive as a substitute for watering during development. And so my research objective is to determine the effects and the mechanisms of sedum as a nurse plant species for food crop performance in extensive green roof systems. My research questions are, does sedum facilitate performance of food crops on extensive urban green roofs? How does sedum alleviate food crop stress symptoms under water limited conditions? And can sedum produce garden vegetables with comparable yield size and quality as in-ground gardening? So my research takes place on the rooftop at Highland Hall at UTSC, roughly 27 meters above ground level. The roof has a south-facing exposure and receives full sun throughout the day. Each green roof module is positioned about 60 centimeters apart from the neighboring module to ensure no shading from neighboring plants, and each module receives comparable exposure. The substrate used is a biomix eco-blend from BioRoof Systems. The substrate is a mix of organic and inorganic materials. Three crop species, Italian parsley, Russian red kale, and bush beans were chosen for the study, all of which display heat tolerance and drought tolerance to an extent. Sedum album and Sedum sexangulaire were chosen as near species. Both these species display a low growth form, perform well under dry conditions, and widely occur on extensive green roofs in Toronto. A full factorial, fully randomized design of parsley, kale, and beans is planted with Sedum album and sexangulaire and added as a nurse plant treatment. Fake plants are also added to design in order to tease apart above and below ground mechanisms of facilitation. To test facilitation, I will compare above and below ground traits between nurse plant treatments. The traits I will focus on include above and below ground biomass, specific leaf area, root length, specific root area, and leaf and root carbon nitrogen ratios. I will also compare soil moisture and temperature between treatments, as well as microbial community diversity. So last year, I conducted a preliminary study looking at facilitation. However, due to COVID restrictions, I had to work with the material we had on hand, which was a standard FLL and Sedum camchaticum for near plant treatment. The plot on the left shows specific leaf area of kale and parsley grown with and without sedum as a nurse plant, and the right shows root nitrogen content. The results show a sign of facilitation with increased specific leaf area and root nitrogen in parsley grown with sedum. There seems to be no difference in specific leaf area for kale and a decrease in root nitrogen. However, because we weren't sure if kale would germinate and survive on the roof, we had overseeded our modules, and plant density likely caused competition between individuals. So this year, I expect a more drastic increase in these traits between sedum treatments, with the use of biomix and eco-blend, and Sedum album and sexangulaire as nurse plants, as well as proper plant spacing and density. To measure water stress, I implemented 3 watering treatments. The high watering treatment will include full saturation once soil moisture drops to 30%. Low treatment will maintain soil moisture below 30 and above 12%. And a third rainfall treatment will not include any supplemental watering. I'll also explore delta 13 carbon and delta 15 nitrogen isotope values in the plant leaves to look at early signs of water stress. The studies have shown that lipids and fatty acids in the outermost layer of plant leaves have shown persistent changes during periods of drought and can be used as an early sign of water stress. And a study done on wine grape leaves showed that levels of carbon isotopes consistently increased and nitrogen isotopes decreased when the plants were subject to low watering conditions. So I plan on using this technique and expect the carbon and nitrogen isotope ratio to be similar in high watering, no sedum treatments, and in low watering sedum treatments, indicating that sedum can alleviate water stress. And to assess productivity, which will not be done this year, I plan on replicating this experiment at the UTSC Edible Campus Farm and assess and compare yield size and quality of crops. So the significance of this research is to help to change the way green infrastructure is designed and implemented in cities. With increased food insecurity and a need for fresh food in urban centers, this work will help improve our ecological understanding of green roofs and develop a novel approach to actualize these as productive food growing spaces. This provides a multitude of research avenues and applications, particularly translating findings into management framework to enhance urban agricultural systems in Canada. And so thank you for listening, and I'm open to any questions.